Tim McCarthy and Ben Thompson, can we have you in the ring, please?
Okay, we're not too far away from making a start. On our Circle L and Maloney Livestock Transport 2021 Epic Incentive Campdraft Final. So in not too much time at all, we will be calling our competitors out into the centre ring just to do a quick parade for us in about 5 minutes' time. And as we mentioned, it is the Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Epic Incentive Campdraft. And of course, we'd like to thank Mick and Carolyn Maloney very, very much from Maloney Livestock Transport for their kind sponsorship, not only of this event, but for donating their time and efforts. We really appreciate it. And then of course to Clayton and Haley from Circle L Western Wear up in Toowoomba. They are proud sponsors of this event as well, providing the trophy saddle, which is valued at $5,000 and is on display down here in front of the announcer's box. So we do urge anyone that may be in the market for a saddle to come down and have a look at that Circle L saddle. And we also thank Circle L for their 10 gift vouchers that they have supplied us for winners and place getters throughout the weekend. As I mentioned before, we will then be moving on at the completion of our epic final. We'll be getting into the cutout runoff from yesterday afternoon. All of those competitors who scored a 24 in the open cutout yesterday afternoon, they will be running off. And then we will be moving in to the main event here this weekend, our Grazag Open Camp Draft. And of course we'd like to thank Jason and Kelly Litchfield very, very much from Grazag. They've been wonderful supporters from day one. Since the day they were asked, they have just thrown their full support behind our event. Grazag are your trusted grazing and agricultural company, located here in Townsville, in Armidale, I beg your pardon. Geez, I'll get the sack. Located here in Armidale and also have stores in Guyra and Glen Innes. Their 3 stores stock and will supply all your needs, including rural merchandise, fertiliser, pasture seed, animal health products, nutrition supplements and fencing supplies, as well as steel yard supplies, agricultural chemicals, along with a drive-through service and agronomy specialist advice. They're our main sponsors for the Open Camp Draft, Grazag, and of course we can't forget the team at Verback, Alex Pope, who has kindly donated trophy rugs for the events throughout the weekend. They've also donated drench for the cattle that we've used, and plenty of small knickknacks that we've been able to use as prizes throughout the weekend. So to all of those people who have sponsored our event throughout the weekend, we thank you very, very much. A very big thank you goes out to our cattle donors for this epic final here this afternoon, John and Maureen Matheson. We thank you very, very much for the kind donation of your stock here this afternoon. And I'm sure everyone appreciates it. Such a grand gesture at the moment, considering the value of livestock. And we do thank the Nemoi River Transport as well as Maloney Livestock Transport for getting them to and from the event safely. We'd also like to give a big welcome to our online audience here this afternoon, watching the event through the live stream service provided to us by Stock Live. Libby and Ali and the team have been live streaming the events throughout the weekend and providing the online bidding support for our sale tomorrow. An online catalogue with up-to-date photos and information is available for everyone's viewing. So to those people who are at home, there's no shortage of information there for you, and there'll be no shortage of action for you here this afternoon when we commence our final rounds. Okay, competitors, well, we're not too far away from a start. We do ask the following competitors to please make your way out into the centre of the arena. We're going to just do a grand parade before we get underway with the finalists. So we do ask the following finalists to please make your way out into the centre ring. Competitor number 1, Dean Clark with Watches Pearl. Number 2, Ben Thompson with Cloverleigh Phoenix. Number 3 will be Denny Farley and Allen View Gales Misty. 4 will be Warren Patterson with Hot Man. 5, Robert Perkins and Hot Cash. 6 will be Ken McCarthy with JR Hat Creek Call Girl. Number 7 will be Mitchell Hoy with Smart Times. Number 8, Tim McCarthy, Hell's Charm. 9, Alan Sinclair with Sterling. And 10 will be Denny Farley with Chandler. So ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause as they go around. These are our 10 finalists in the Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Incentive Camp Draft here this afternoon. Thanks, mate. Thank you very much for that, competitors. And of course, to all of those who are watching on at home, we say a very good afternoon to you, and we thank everyone who's on the ground here this afternoon. It'll be a great event, no doubt. This is our Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Epic Incentive Final. Total prize pool of $20,000. And of course that Circle L Trophy saddle valued at $5,500. Okay, on the camp now, we'll make a start. We should have competitor number 1, Dean Clark, aboard Watcher's Pearl. Dean goes in with an aggregate score so far of 101 points. He comes to us this weekend from Gyra. It's wonderful to have Dean with us. Dean's aboard Watcher's Pearl, as I mentioned there earlier. Watcher's Pearl was bought in 2018 out of our epic sale for $8,800. He was bought off the O'Reilly family. Of course, sired goes back to the Warrenbri Romeo bloodlines, and Doc's Freckle Oak on the dam side. This is Dean Clark aboard Watcher's Pearl as he makes his way to the front of the camp and he nods for the gate. Out he goes. Heads out with a camp score of 21 points and makes his way around our Circle L first peg. He's travelling nicely now over towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Works hard and gets right up on the shoulder there to bend him back around and towards the gate now. Comes back around towards our Grazag gate. Ladies and gentlemen, have a look here. Our first competitor, one full round there. Congratulations to Dean Clark aboard Watcher's Pearl. He puts it through our Grazag gate for our first full round of the afternoon. We'll have a score come to hand for Dean shortly. So a score to hand there for Dean Clark and Watcher's Pearl will be 21 for cutout, 63 for horsework and 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 88 points and brings his aggregate total to 189. On the camp now, we should have competitor number 2, Ben Thompson. Ben's with us from Glen Elgin this weekend and he's aboard Cloverleigh Phoenix. Goes in with an aggregate score so far of 102 points. So far. And Ben will take his time here as he carefully selects a beast from the wonderful draft we have here this afternoon, kindly donated to us by John and Maureen Matheson. We thank them very, very much for the kind donation of their stock to run the epic incentive final here this afternoon. Ben's made his selection and he takes Phoenix up to the top of the camp there. Phoenix was bought out of the 2018 epic sale for $8,500. Phoenix also boasts the Warrenbri Romeo bloodlines that are known so well throughout the camp drafting industry. This is competitor number 2, Ben Thompson with Phoenix. He calls for the gate now, he says it's time to go. And a bit of hard luck there for Ben Thompson, unfortunately, but he'll go out with a cutout score of 14 points. We'll add that to his aggregate score of 102. We'll bring his total aggregate to 116 points. In the camp now, we should have competitor number 3, Danny Farley, with us. Aboard John Farley's nomination, Allen View Gales Misty. This mare was bought out of our 2019 epic sale for $3,300. A very able horseman himself, Denny Farley. He's been here a great supporter of the event this weekend. And he takes Misty up to the front of the camp, calls for the gate now, steps out into the arena. Heading towards our Circle L first peg. Goes out with a camp score of 19 points and he covers the Circle L first peg quite nicely. Heads back over towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Puts the pace on now and he covers the second peg without any troubles at all. Crosses the line and heading back around now towards the Grazag gate. Here we are. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. Another full round for Denny Farley aboard John Farley's nomination. Allen View, Gales Misty. We'll have a score to hand here for you shortly, Denny. Score there for Denny Farley was 19 points for cutout. 65 for horsework, 4 for the course, gives him a total of 88 points and brings his aggregate total to 190 points. Good on you, Denny. We now turn our attention to the camp yard now. We'll have competitor number 4, Mr. Warren Patterson, with us this time. Warren is aboard Hot Man, the gelding that was purchased out of the sale in 2018 for $8,800. Selects his steer and takes it right up to the face of the camp. Puts the pressure on now and nods for the gate as he heads out into the arena. Goes out with a camp score of 20. And he looks to improve that as he comes around the Circle L first peg now. Heads back over towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Travelling nicely and heading back around towards our Grazag gate. Just puts the pressure on now. Coming back around. Oh, hard luck there, Warren. Very well done. We will have a score to hand here for you shortly, Warren. Score there for Warren Patterson aboard Hot Man was 20 points for the cutout, 56 for horsework and 3 for the course. Gives him a total of 79 points and an aggregate total of 184. In the camp now, we should have Ebor competitor Robert Perkins aboard his nomination Hot Cash. Hot Cash was again purchased out of our 2018 sale for $7,700. Great to see these horses being brought back here to have a crack at our incentive draft, which has been kindly sponsored by Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L. He nods for the gate now and heads out onto the course. He knows where he's headed, in the general direction of the Circle L first peg. Makes his way around there, looking to add to his camp score of 21 points. As he navigates the second peg, our Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Takes him back out there across the line now, heading back towards the Grazag gate. And is he going to do it? Yes, he has. Well done. Put your hands together. Another great run from Robert Perkins. 62 and 4. Just put 62. So a score there for Robert was 21 points for cutout, 62 for horsework, 4 for the course, gives him a total of 87 points. And that'll bring his aggregate up to 189 points for the weekend. In the camp now, we should have competitor number 6, Mr. Ken McCarthy, with us. He's been a wonderful supporter of the Epic Sail concept ever since day one. It's great to see him with one in the final here today. Ken's aboard Hat Creek Call Girl. And unfortunately for Ken, he goes out with a score of 21 points aboard the mare that was sold in the 2019 sale for $4,900. We'll add that 21 points to his score of 150, which will bring his aggregate up to 171. And of course, Ken is one of those competitors that will be competing for first and second place here today. Moving on now to competitor number 7, this time in the camp, Mitchell Hoy. And again, speaking of people who have helped us out greatly over the course of this event, Mitchell is no exception. He's aboard Smart Times, purchased out of the sale in 2017. And he makes his selection now as he moves his way up to the face of the camp. Really gets down and works now. And heads out onto the course. Goes out with a score of 23 points as he makes his way around the Circle L first peg. And unfortunately there for Mitchell, he'll go out with his score of 23 points only. We'll add that to his aggregate of 105, which brings him to 128 points. So good on you, Mitchell. Great to have you with us here this weekend. Another one of the supporters that has been with us since the inception of this event, Mr. Tim McCarthy this time, aboard Hell's Charm, the mare that was bought out of the sale in 2018. It's great to have Tim with us here this weekend. As he makes his selection, the Black Steer takes it up to the face of the camp and calls for the gate now. He heads outside with a score of 20. And unfortunately, that's as far as we'll go. So we'll add that score of 20 to his aggregate so far of 108, which will bring it up to 128 points for Tim McCarthy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, draw your attention to the camp yard now. This is our second competitor that will be running off for first and second place with Ken McCarthy. So Ken, of course, just had his run there a little while ago. Alan Sinclair now aboard Sterling. And of course, Alan and Ken were our only two competitors to run a full course in both the first and second round of our Epic Incentive Campdraft. Alan comes in aboard the Gelding Sterling, which was purchased out of the sale in 2017. We wish him all the best as he makes his selection from this wonderful mob of cattle we have donated to us by John and Maureen Matheson this afternoon to run this, the final of our Circle L and Maloney Livestock Transport Epic Incentive Campdraft. And once again, a very big thank you goes out to our transport sponsors, the Matheson family from Nemoy River Transport at Guyra, and of course Mick and Carolyn Maloney from Maloney Transport in Tamworth, We thank you very much for taking good care of these cattle during transit over the weekend. And Alan has made his selection. He takes it up to the front of the camp. There's no mucking around here. This is competitor number 9, Mr. Alan Sinclair. He goes out of the course now. Alan and Sterling. Makes his way around our Circle L first peg. He just makes the changeover as he heads back towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Doing it in good style now. Brings him back around, looking to take him across that line and back towards the Grazag gate. And yes, he's done it. Well done. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Alan Sinclair aboard Sterling. So a score to hand there for Alan. So a score there for Alan will be 22 points for cutout, 63 for horsework, 4 for the course, gives him at 89. So that was an 89-point run, and that brings his aggregate to 261 points to take him to the top of the leaderboard here for this, the Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Epic Incentive Campdraft. Our final competitor here this afternoon will be Denny Farley aboard his nomination Chandler. He was purchased out of the 2019 sale for $6,600. Denny Farley now calling for the gate and heading out on course aboard Chandler. Oh, unfortunately, there's just a trick or two in that steer, but well done, Denny. Denny gets a 16-point cutout. So, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for those competitors. So a score that time for Denny Farley aboard Chandler was 16 points, and we add that to his aggregate of 107, brings him to a total aggregate of 123 points. So we'll send this off to the office now, and we'll have your winners and place getters for you shortly, ladies and gentlemen. But do bear in mind, all the presentations will be held at the completion of all of our events this afternoon. We would like to sincerely thank Mrs. Gloria McCormack for presiding over that draft. Gloria, we thank you very much. She's been another great help to us, not only during the camp draft, but over there today with the Negs girls. And we'll be moving on in not too much time at all. We'll call our judge, Mr. Nigel Rippon, from over at Casino, to preside over the final of our cutout, the runoff of the cutout from yesterday afternoon. We had approximately 8 people who were all on 24 points, and the draw will be as follows. So those cutout competitors, could we please have number 1, Pete Comiskey on Duck Down. 2 will be Lexi Payne with Rosa Time. 3, Troy Palmer and Helza Cummin. 4, Hugh Miles with Times Up. 5 will be Troy Palmer and Dulcie. 6, Michael Hayes with What a Man. 7 will be Luke Bennett and Little Miss. 8, Ian Clark with Charlie Roan. And the final competitor, number 9, Mr. Bruce McNaughton aboard Melody Chick. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they will be your competitors in this, the cutout runoff from yesterday afternoon. We'll just have a change of cattle now, but it won't take us too long, and then we will be into the runoff of the cutout from our Grazag Open Campdraft. And of course, we do want to thank Jason and Kelly Litchfield very much for their platinum sponsorship of this event this weekend in sponsoring our Open Campdraft. Of course, Grazag are your trusted grazing and agricultural company located here in Armidale, with stores in Guyra and Glen Innes as well. They cater for all your needs and stock any equipment that you may be chasing. They also have a drive-through service and specialist agronomy advice. They're our main sponsors here today, Grazag, Jason and Kelly Litchfield, and we thank them very, very much for the support they've thrown behind our event from day one. And of course, partnering in the sponsorship of our Open Campdraft here this afternoon, we have the team from Verback, and we thank them very, very much for donating the trophy rugs for our events. They've also donated drench for the cattle that have been used here this weekend, and given us many horse drenches and knickknacks for all of our vendors here. So we thank them very much. It won't be too long before we get underway with the run out of the cutout. We must give a very big thank you to the cattle donors for our open event here this afternoon, the Grills family. So to David, Penny, Brenton and Jess, we thank you very, very much for your kind donation, along with the Matheson family, John and Maureen. This event wouldn't be possible without the kind gesture of you donating your stock here this afternoon. And of course, we thank our judge, Mr. Nigel Rippon, here with us from Casino this weekend. And it won't be too long before we have got the camp full of cattle for our competitors. And our competitors this afternoon will be number 1, Pete Comiskey aboard Duckdown. 2 will be Lexi Payne with Rosa Time. 3, Troy Palmer and Hells Are Coming. Number 4 will be a scratching. 5 is Troy Palmer again with Dulcie. 6 is Michael Hayes and What a Man. 7, Luke Bennett with Little Miss. 8 is Ian Clark and Charlie Roan. And number 9 will be Mr. Bruce McNaughton aboard Melody Chick. So the cutout winner for the Epic Incentive was Mitchell Hoy, with his cutout score from round 2 being 23 points. So Mitchell Hoy, you are the winner of the cutout for our Epic Incentive Camp Draft. And of course the overall winner there, Mr. Alan Sinclair. It's what we're all here for, the Epic Incentive. And of course tomorrow we'll be lining up those sale horses that all went through so well this morning. And it's such an exciting concept to see the vendors bring these horses here and the prospective purchasers take them home, put the polish on them and bring them back for a crack at the incentive. A lot of horses there that can come back over the next couple of years. Bearing in mind that this year our incentive worth about $20,000 and we will be looking to pour a bit more money into it for you next year. Right to go, mate. Okay, we're right to go now. We've got our judge in his place. And on the camp, we'll have Pete Comiskey with Duck Down. All of these competitors in the cutout runoff this afternoon scored 24 points for cutout yesterday. He selects the black baldy steer and takes it straight up to the face of the camp. There's no mucking around. He gets down and gets to work now. He calls for the gate. Very well done. Pete Comiskey keeping it short and sweet. And we've got a score of 24.5 points there for Pete Comiskey. 24.5 points for Pete Comiskey aboard Duck Down. Competitor number 2 this time will be Lexi Payne. Lexi's aboard Rosa Time. Lexi's made her selection now. The black steer takes him straight up to the face of the camp. Unfortunately, it just sneaks away onto there. And she lets it outside. Bit of hard luck there for Lexi, but she goes out with a score of 16 points. We now welcome our third competitor in this afternoon, Mr. Troy Palmer, aboard Hells Are Comin'. The cooler competitor with us here this weekend. He had a couple of good runs there yesterday. He's made his selection now. The Charolais steer takes him straight up to the face of the camp. Gets down and gets to work. Troy Palmer and Hells Are Comin'. He calls for the gate. Oh. And out he goes. Put your hands together for Troy Palmer with Hells Are Comin'. He goes out with a 19-point cutout. We'll just wait for Troy to change horses there. As Troy gets another crack this time aboard Dulcie. Troy will be competitor number 5 in this, the runoff for the cutout of the Grazag Open Campdraft. We thank Jason and Kelly Litchfield very, very much for their kind sponsorship, and of course Alex Pope and Matt Falconer from Verback for also partnering to sponsoring this event as well. Troy Palmer with Dulcie this time, getting them sorted out. He takes a black steer up the front of the camp. Gets down and gets to work. From side to side and back around again. Oh. Another round of applause for Mr. Troy Palmer there aboard Dulcie. Goes out with a score of 18 points. On the camp this time we should have competitor number 6, Mr. Michael Hayes with What a Man. And here we have Michael Hayes with What a Man, making his selection and getting right up the front there. Getting the black steer covered though. He's called for the gate. Well done. Put your hands together. But Michael Hayes will have a score for Michael shortly. And Michael goes out with a score of 24 points. Following Michael, we now have competitor number 7, Luke Bennett with Little Miss. Luke Bennett and Lil Miss, they take the black baldy steer up to the face of the camp now. Oh, and he puts a good block on him there. He's called for the gate. Well done. Put your hands together for Luke Bennett. And at 24, another 24 there for Luke Bennett and Lil Miss. In the camp this time we have competitor number 8, Ian Clark. Our second last competitor here this afternoon on Charlie Roan. He's made his selection now and he takes the grey baldy steer right up to the business end of the camp. Puts it on the gate and gets to work now. Have a look at Charlie Roan get down and work. Ladies and gentlemen, they've called for the gate. Put your hands together for Ian Clark and Charlie Roan. Oh, and a 24.5. That'll put him up to the equal first place with Pete Comiskey on Duck Down. And with a competitor like Bruce McNaughton coming in a Melody Chick, I should say that first place for now. Bruce comes in, looks to have another good run after running a 24 yesterday with Melody Chick in the camp. We thank all our competitors here over this weekend who have taken great care of the cattle. On camp now we have Walker competitor Bruce McNaughton, and he's made his selection now. He and Melody Chick go up to the face of the camp now with the black baldy steer. Gets him up there and no mucking around. He's called for the gate. Well done. Put your hands together for Bruce. We'll have a score there shortly. A score of 23 points for Bruce. 23. So that will mean that we will need the following competitors: Mr. Pete Comiskey and Ian Clark. Pete Comiskey aboard Duck Down and Ian Clark with Charlie Roan. You will be required to run off the cutout. We're just going to toss a coin to run off the cutout here this afternoon, and as soon as the cutout is run off, I beg your pardon, we will be moving on to the Open Campdraft Final, and we will require the following competitors to be here and at the ready to move straight on. We will be requiring competitor number 1, Ben Maidham with Bonfire Jovi. Number 2 will be Joe Payne and All That Style. 3, Mark Argue with Sunita. 4 will be Bill Carey and Gidget. 5 will be Pete Comiskey with Brittany, and 6 will be Kimberly Salmon. Here we are, Ian's up the front of the camp again, really putting the pressure on now. He's got the crowd behind him, and he makes the final block and turn. Well done. Ian Clark with Charlie Roan. And at 25 points that time, 25 points. On camp now we have Pete Comiskey with Duck Down. Following Pete's run, we will be moving on to the open draft, as I said. If those competitors, those first 10 competitors, Ben Maidham, Joe Payne, Mark Argue, Bill Carey, Pete Comiskey, Kimberly Salmon, Jesse Rowan, Colin Sylvester, Troy Palmer and Ben McNaughton, if we could have you at the ready to move straight on, that'd be great. And Pete Comiskey and Duck Down, they make their second selection now. Takes it straight up to the front of the camp. They're familiar with this position. Another good run here, and he calls for the gate. No mucking about again. Well done. And at 24.5 points there for Pete Comiskey. Put your hands together for those two competitors and congratulate Mr. Ian Clark, the winner of our Grazag Open Campdraft cutout. We do ask the turnback men if they wouldn't mind bringing the cattle back across, and as soon as we have the cattle back across, we will be moving into the final of our Grazag Open Campdraft. Of course, Grazag and Verback partnering to sponsor our open draft here this weekend, and we will require the following competitors in order to get underway. Ben Maidham aboard Terry Wickham's nomination, Bonfire Jovi. 2 will be Joe Payne with Brendan Fitzgerald's nomination, All That Style. 3, Mark Argue with his nomination, Sunita. 4 will be Bill Carey with his nomination, Gidget. 5, Pete Comiskey with his nomination, Brittany. 6 will be Kimberly Salmon with Sarah Campbell's nomination, Euchel Bar Can Rock Again. 7 will be Jesse Rowan with Sam and Sarah Campbell's nomination, Many More. 8, Colin Sylvester and his nomination, Convict. 9 will be Troy Palmer and his nomination, Sniper. And 10 will be Ben McNaughton, I beg your pardon, with Horizon. We're just bringing our cattle back over from the other side to put them back out in the back to be drafted and loaded on to the Nemoy River livestock transport truck and head back home. And then we will be underway with our draft. So if in the meantime anyone's feeling peckish, we do have a few caterers on the ground. We have the Smoking Smokehouse up there. They're doing a great job, along with Ed's Tucker Box and Chris at Bean Travelling, the coffee van. We do ask that you get up there and support all of those people who have come here to look after us over the weekend. We've also got a number of trade sites. Dave Bartley over there at the Riverina site. We've got the local honeyman, as well as Lee Fay over there at the jewellery store. So anyone who may need a last-minute Mother's Day present, we've got Lee Fay over there with her jewellery. Another one of our great sponsors this weekend has been the Wicklow Hotel. Steve and the team over there at the Wicklow Hotel, situated at 87 Marsh Street, with all the pub classics, including chicken snitty, rump steak, refreshing salads. There's a full bar available, as well as a sports bar and indoor seating. It'll be the place to be, so make sure you get over there and support our sponsors, one of which being Steve at the Wicklow Hotel. I'm sure everyone would agree that the ground is in great shape this weekend, and we have to thank Oliver Jeffrey and his team from Northern Tablelands Earth Moving at Armidale for that. He's kindly donated his equipment and time to prepare the Campdraft grounds. And of course Doug Ferris was out there yesterday afternoon with the aerator, putting a lot of time into it. So to those people, we thank you very much. Not too far away from a start now. So a reminder once again, if we could have the following competitors to the side of the camp. Number 1, Ben Maiden with Bonfire Jovi. 2, Joe Payne and All That Style. 3 will be Mark Argue and Sanita. 4, Bill Carey with Gidget. 5 will be Pete Comiskey and Brittany. 6, Kimberly Salmon and Ugal Bar Can Rock Again. 7 will be Jesse Rowan and many more. 8, Colin Sylvester and Convict. 9, Troy Palmer with Sniper. 10, Ben McNaughton and Horizon. 11, Brendan Allport. 12, Bruce McNaughton. 13, Philip McCormack. 14, Matthew Moffat. And 15 will be Michael Hayes. They will be the first 15 people we require in our open camp draft final this afternoon, of which there are 45 people to go around. Just goes to show the calibre of camp drafting we've had here this weekend. The 45 competitors that are going into the open draft all had a score of 89 and above. We might have someone to fill the camp if we can, and then we'll be underway. In this, the final of our Grazag Open Camp Draft this afternoon. Very kindly sponsored by Jason and Kelly Litchfield, your trusted grazing and agricultural company. 3 stores located at Armidale, Guyra and Glen Innes. They supply all of your rural merchandise, fertiliser, pasture seed, animal health products, nutrition supplements and fencing supplies, along with a drive-through service and agronomy specialists. Also partnering in the sponsorship of this open camp draft, we have Alex Pope and Matt Faulkner from Verback, who have kindly donated the trophy rugs. And of course, Burton's Saddlery at Armidale. John and Lee Burton, we thank you very much for your donation of the handcrafted whip, which will be going to the winner of the event. Another good draft of cattle coming into the camp this time, kindly donated by the Grills family and John and Maureen Matheson. And we're right to get underway now with our first competitor. It'll be Ben Maiden aboard Terry Wickham's nomination Bonfire Jovi. Out on course now, we have Ben Maiden with Terry Wickham's nomination Bonfire Jovi. He heads out onto the course with a camp score of 22 points. And heading back around now to the Grazag gate, and well done. That's our first full round, and he's done it in very good style. Looking to add to his first round score of 91 points. We'll have a score to hand there shortly for Ben. Score there for Ben Maiden on Terry Wickham's nomination, Bonfire Jovi, will be 22 points for cutout, 64 for horsework, 4 for the course, gives him a total of 90 points and puts him up there with an aggregate of 181. So congratulations, Ben, you've set the bar high so far. In the camp this time, we'll have competitor number 2, Joe Payne, aboard All That Style. Of course, the Brendan Fitzgerald-owned horse there. Also looking to add to their first round score of 91 points. Calls for the gate now and leaves the camp with a 21, and that'll be it. On the camp now, we should have Mark Argue with his nomination, Sanita. Joe Payne goes out with an aggregate of 112 points. We now turn our attention to Mark Argue, who comes in with a 90-point run from yesterday. And we do remind everyone that next year there will be a big incentive, an open age incentive for any open age horses bought out of the sale that are entered in the open camp draft next year. And here we are with Mark Argue, goes up to the face of the camp now and calls for the gate. He heads outside with a 21-point cutout and makes his way around the Circle L first peg. Travelling along quite nicely now as he heads back out into the centre of the arena and makes his way towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Going to move right up on the shoulder now and brings him around to complete that second peg. Looking nice as he comes around now, looking to go through the Grazag gate, and well done. Another big score for Mark Argue aboard Sanita. Score there for Mark and Sanita was 21 points for cutout, 64 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 89 points and an aggregate total of 179. In the camp this time, we have Gundawindi competitor Bill Carey and Gidget. They come in with a 90-point run from yesterday, and he's right up the face of the camp here again today. Nods for the gate, but unfortunately, it's a 23 cutout there that he goes out with today. Yes, Amy? Score there for Bill Carey with Gidget was 23 points for cutout. And that'll give him an aggregate total of 113. Pete Comiskey in the camp this time, the Nebo competitor aboard Brittany. He calls for the gate. Goes outside with a 21-point cutout. Makes his way around the Circle L peg. And now coming around, looking to complete the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. He's got him back under control now. Travelling along nicely. Takes him back out into the centre of the arena to bend him around. Back towards our Grazag gate. And that's time. But very well done there to Pete Comiskey aboard Brittany. We'll have a score for you shortly. And of course, lot 15 in our horse sale over the weekend tomorrow is a half sister to Brittany on account of the Mankins family. So one to check out there for you. That'll be lot 15 on account of saltwater stock horses. Half sister to Pete Comiskey's Brittany that just went out with a good cutout score of 21. and a full round score of 55 for horsework, 3 for the course. Gives him a total of 79 points and an aggregate of 169. In the camp this time we have Beaudesert competitor Kimberly Semin aboard Sarah Campbell's nomination, Ugle Bar Can Rock Again. Outside now with Kimberly Semin looking to add to her score of 89 points from yesterday. Goes out with a 23 cutout here this afternoon. Making her way around the Circle L first peg. Really putting the speed on now as she comes around to complete the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. And unfortunately just sneaks around the bottom there. She'll go out with a camp score of 23. In the camp now we have Jessie Rowan aboard Sam and Sarah Campbell's nomination, Many More. Aggregate score for our prior competitor, Kimberly Semin aboard Ugle Bar Can Rock Again, was an 89 points from the first round, combined with 23 cut out from the second round. An aggregate score of 112 points. So Jessie Rowan this time comes in with a score of 90 from yesterday. She makes a selection now. The Quality Angus steer and gets him right up the front of the camp. She's got him covered and calls for the gate. Heads outside with a 22-point cutout. Gives him a bit of a hurry along now as they come around the Circle L first peg. Heading back out into the centre of the arena now. Looking to tick off the Maloney Livestock second peg, and have a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Lets him run on a little now and does the changeover to come back around to our Grazag gate. And have a look at this, a round of applause there for Jessie Rowan on Many More. Another full course. The score comes to hand there for Jessie of 22 points for cutout, 63 for horsework, 4 for the course. Is for a total of 89 points and an aggregate total of 179. In the camp this time we have Colin Sylvester with us, the Geary competitor aboard Convict. Comes in with a first round score of 90 points. He will be competitor number 8. Following Colin will have number 9, Troy Palmer with Sniper. Number 10 will be Ben McNaughton and Horizon. Number 11, Brendan Allport with Maestro. 12, Bruce McNaughton and Tallahassee Paris. 13, Philip McCormack with Highlight. 14, Matthew Moffat and She Be a Cat. And 15 will be Michael Hayes and Maserati. And now we're out on course with competitor number 8, Colin Sylvester and Convict. They head outside the combination with a 22-point cutout. And unfortunately the steer's got other ideas. The 22 cutout will give them an aggregate score of 112 points. A cooler competitor here with us this time, Troy Palmer aboard his nomination Sniper. They come in with a 92-point run from the first round yesterday. Troy selected his steer and up onto the face of the camp he goes now. Putting the pressure on once again, and he's got him covered well. Nods for the gate, and he heads outside with a 21-point cutout. Looking to steer him around the Circle L first peg, which he's done nicely, and heads back out into the middle for the changeover. Back around towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg, and he's done it in fine style too. Back to the middle of the arena he goes, and the changeover to come around to our Grazag gate. And just around the top, but a good run nevertheless. We'll have a score for you there shortly. 60 and 3. Score there for Troy Palmer and Sniper was 21 points for cutout, 60 for horsework, 4 for the course, gives him a total of 84 points and an aggregate total of 23 points for cutout, I beg your pardon. 3 for course, I beg your pardon. 3 for the course gives him a total of 84 points and an aggregate total of 176 points. In the camp this time, we should have competitor number 10, Ben McNaughton. He rides his nomination Horizon. Comes in with a 91-point run from yesterday. Following Ben, we'll have competitor number 11, Brenton Allport. Aboard Nice Maestro. Number 12 will be Bruce McNaughton with Tallahassee Paris. 13, Philip McCormack and Highlight. 14 will be Matthew Moffat and She Be a Cat. And 15 will be Michael Hayes and Maserati. We're out on course now with Ben McNaughton, making his way around our Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. And putting a bend in him again to come back around through our Grazag gate, and well done. Put your hands together there. Ben McNaughton aboard Horizon. Score there for Ben with Horizon was 22 points for cutout, 63 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 89 points and an aggregate total of 180 points. In the camp this time, we have Brenton Allport, competitor number 11, aboard Jess Grill's nomination Maestro. Local competitor here comes in with a score of 89 points from yesterday. And he calls for the gate to head outside now. .21-point cutout. Makes his way around our Circle L first peg. Back towards the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Travelling along nicely now as he gets back out into the centre of the arena. He makes the changeover and heads back around towards the Grazag gate. He's got the crowd behind him, and well done. Put your hands together for Brenton Allport aboard Jess Grill's nomination Maestro. Score there for Brenton was 21 points for cutout, 64 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 89 points, and with an 89-point run yesterday, he's an aggregate of 178. In the camp this time, we should have Mr. Bruce McNaughton. He'll be competitor number 12 aboard Jaden Dorney's nomination Tallahassee Paris. 13 will be Philip McCormack on Highlight. 14 Matthew Moffat with She Be a Cat. 15 Michael Hayes and Maserati. 16 Todd Hammond with Duck and Weave. 17 Ben Newbury with Escort. 18 Heidi Smith and Spins Gypsy Rose. 19 Andrew Burns with EV Costa. And 20 will be Pete Comiskey and Archdale Convoy. And unfortunately, Bruce will go out with a score of 22 points only, which will give him an aggregate of 114. Glen Innes, competitor with us in the camp this time, will be competitor 13, Philip McCormack, aboard his nomination Highlight. Comes in with a first round score of 90 points. Philip McCormack and Highlight this time makes his selection, and up to the face of the camp here. He's really getting down and getting to work now. Nods for the gate and heads out on course. 22 points for Cutout as he works to make his way around the Circle L first peg. He can just working hard to get around the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. And a bit of a change over to put the bend back in him and come through our Grazag gate. Well done. Oh. Score there for Philip McCormack with Highlight. Will be 22 points for Cutout, 55 for Horsework, 3 for the course, total of 89 points. 80 points, I beg your pardon, 80 points for Philip McCormack. With the 90-point run yesterday gives him an aggregate of 170 points. In the camp now we have Matthew Moffat aboard She Be a Cat, a 91-point run yesterday. Calls for the gate and outside now with Matthew Moffat. And Matthew goes out with a score of 18 points for Cutout. In the camp now we have competitor number 15, Michael Hayes with Maserati. He'll be followed by 16, Todd Hammond with Duck and Weave. 17 will be Ben Newbury. Aboard Escort, 18 will be Heidi Smith with Spins Gypsy Rose. 19 will be Andrew Burns and Costa. 20, Pete Comiskey with Archdale Convoy. 21, Andrew Turvey and Request. 22, Bill Carey with Imprint. 23, Troy Palmer with Whitney. 24, Paul Kelly with Nebo. Michael Hayes in the camp now. He's our 15th competitor in this, the Grazag Open Camp Draft Final. Goes out with a camp score of 22 points as he makes his way around the Circle L first peg. Back out in the middle of the arena for the changeover. Bit of hard luck there. And Michael will go out with a camp score of 22 points. Bringing his aggregate total to 112. Todd Hammond in the camp with us this time. Comes in with Steve and Cheryl Miller's nomination, Duck and Weave. Achieved a 91-point run yesterday. And looking to make his selection from the wonderful mob of cattle we have here this afternoon, kindly donated by the Grills family, and of course John and Maureen Matheson. We thank our cattle donors very much. Todd's made his selection, nods for the gate. We're out on course now with a 22-point cutout. Hard luck there, Todd. Combined with Todd's score from yesterday, gives him an aggregate total of 113 points. Competitor 17 this time will be Ben Newbury, the Glen Innes competitor. He's aboard Cody and Nat Law's nomination, Yarrawar Escort comes in with a first round score of 91 points. Following Ben, we will require number 18, Heidi Smith with Spins Gypsy Rose, 19, Andrew Burns with Costa, 20, Pete Comiskey with Archdale Convoy, 21, Andrew Turvey and Request, 22, Bill Carey with Imprint, 23, Troy Palmer with Whitney, 24, Paul Kelly and Nebo, 25 will be Penny McIntosh with Cindy, 26 will be Bronson Maclinshaw with Ellie, and 27 will be Mark Argue aboard Nixon. And we're out on course now with Ben Newbury, competitor number 17. He's completed his first 2 pegs and makes his way back around for the Grazag gate, and he's done it. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Scored a hand there for Ben. It's a 22 for cutout, 62 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 88 points and an aggregate of 179. Heidi Smith in the camp this time, aboard Spins Gypsy Rose. The Dungown competitor achieved a 91-point run yesterday. She nods for the gate and heads outside now with a 22-point cutout. And makes her way back out into the centre of the ring after completing the Circle L first peg. She makes light work of the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. She's got a support crew here. But unfortunately, the Angus steer just had other ideas. And the score there for Heidi was 22 points only, bringing her aggregate to 113 points. Dorigo competitor with us this time. This is Andrew Burns, and Costa comes in with an 89-point run from yesterday. We had some wonderful runs yesterday afternoon in this, our Grazag Open Campdraft. We're seeing plenty more good rounds, with plenty more to come this afternoon. Andrew Burns making his selection now. He takes the black baldy steer up the front of the camp, working very nice and kindly. Good block there before he heads out. A 22-point cutout. Coming around the Circle L first peg very nicely. The pace is on as they get out to come around the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. They're back out into the middle there for the changeover now. He's got him covered. Around the corner we go through the Grazag gate. Well done. Put your hands together there for Dorigo competitor Andrew Burns. Score there for Andrew Burns with Costa was 22 points for cutout, 64 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 90 points and an aggregate of 179. Nebo competitor here with us this weekend. We thank him very much for his attendance. It's been great having you here, Pete. This time he's aboard Peter Stevenson and Philip Frame's nomination, Archdale Convoy. They achieved a 92-point run yesterday afternoon. Following Pete Comiskey, we'll have 21 Andrew Turvey, 22 Bill Carey, 23 Troy Palmer, 24 Paul Kelly, 25 Penny McIntosh, 26 Bronson Maclinshaw, and 27 will be Mark Argue. Pete Comiskey on the camp this time. Makes his selection and calls for the gate. There's no mucking around. We're outside now with a 22-point cutout. Makes his way around the Circle L first peg. Bit of hard luck there. But the 22-point cutout bringing their aggregate total to 114 points. Another competitor who has travelled to be with us here this weekend is St George competitor Andrew Turvey. In the camp now, aboard his nomination request. This is our Grazag Ray White Epic Open final camp draft. Total of $50,000 prize pool. And of course our sincere thanks goes to great supporters Jason and Kelly Litchfield from Grazag. They've got stores across 3 locations, Armidale, Guyra and Glen Innes, stocking all of your rural merchandise, fertiliser, pasture seed, steel and fencing supplies, agricultural chemicals, along with a drive-through service and specialist agronomy advice. And we're out on course this time with Andrew Turvey, a 22-point cutout, now making his way out into the centre of the arena to come back around and complete the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Doing it very nicely. Heads back out to make the changeover and come back around towards the Grazag gate. Well done. Put your hands together for St George competitor Andrew Turvey. Score there for Andrew was 22 points for cutout. 65 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 91 points. And combined with his score of 93 from yesterday is a 184-point aggregate, which will take him to the top of the leaderboard so far. In the camp now, we'll have Gundawindi competitor Bill Carey with imprint. 23 will be Troy Palmer and Whitney. 24 Paul Kelly aboard Nebo. 25 Penny McIntosh with Cindy. 26 will be Bronson Maclinshaw aboard Ellie. 27 Mark Argue with Nixon. 28 will be Campbell Martin and Roy's Chisholm. 29 Bruce McNaughton with Little Acre. 30 will be Ian Clark with Cahoots Easy Beat. We also thank co-sponsors of this open camp draft, Verback, who have kindly donated the trophy rugs for the event here this weekend. They've donated drench for the cattle that have been used for both the drafts and the pre-works, as well as horse drenches and small gifts that we've dispersed throughout the weekend. So thank you very, very much to Verback for their sponsorship as well. We go outside now with a camp score of 18 points. And combined with his score of 91 from yesterday, will give Andrew Turvey, Bill Carey, I beg your pardon, a aggregate score of 109 points. The winner of this camp draft also receives a handcrafted whip, kindly donated by Burton's Saddlery here in Armidale. John and Lee Burton, we thank you very, very much for your kind donation of the handcrafted whip to the winner of this Grazag Open Camp Draft. It's wonderful to have our friends from Stock Live with us here this weekend. Libby and Ali, of course, live streaming the weekend's events, providing the online bidding support for our sale on Sunday as well. We welcome our online audience this afternoon. We thank the competitors for turning on such a wonderful performance for our online audience. Don't forget that there is an online catalogue with up-to-date photos and information there on the Stock Live website for anybody who may be wishing to purchase a horse online tomorrow. Up at the face of the camp now with Troy Palmer. He heads outside with a 22-point cutout. Gets that Circle L first peg covered nicely and puts the speed on, gets on up on the shoulder there to bring him back around. The Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. The pace is on once again. Back out into the centre of the ring now. He's made the changeover and he's coming around back through our Grazag gate. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. It was Troy Palmer with Whitney. Had a score of 89 points in our first round yesterday. The score there for Troy Palmer with Whitney was 22 points for cutout, 64 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 90 points and an aggregate of 179. Wingham competitor here with us this time, Mr. Paul Kelly aboard Nebo. Following Paul will be 25, Penny McIntosh with Cindy. 26 will be Bronson Macklenshaw aboard Cal Gibson's Nomination Ellie. 27 will be Mark Argue with Nixon. 28, Campbell Martin with Roy's Chisholm. 29, Bruce McNaughton and Little Acre. 30 will be Ian Clark with Cahoots Easy Beat. 31, Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe. And 32 will be Al Sullivan aboard Django. We're out on course now with Wingham competitor Paul Kelly. And he goes out with a camp score only of 17 points. That'll bring his aggregate up to 109 for the weekend. Penny McIntosh in the camp this time. She'll be our 25th competitor. Comes in aboard her nomination, Cindy, with an 89-point run from yesterday. She's selected the Black Baldy steer to go on with today. She takes him to the front of the camp and doesn't muck around. With a 21-point cutout, she heads outside and she covers the Circle L first peg very nicely. Heading back out into the centre of the arena now. Looking to get the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg covered. Does it very nicely. Makes the change over now and she comes back around towards the Grazag gate. There you are, ladies and gentlemen, another full round. Put your hands together for Penny McIntosh with Cindy. Score there for Penny aboard Cindy was 21 points for cutout, 63 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives her a total of 88 points and an aggregate total of 177. In the camp now we have Bronson Macklinshaw aboard Cal Gibson's nomination Ellie. Following Cal, we'll have 27, Mark Argue with Nixon. 28 will be Campbell Martin with Roy's Chisholm. 29, Bruce McNaughton on Little Acre. 30 will be Ian Clark and Cahoots Easy Beat. 31, Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe. 32 will be Al Sullivan and Django. 33, Warwick Lawrence and Jade. 34, Bill Carey with Ninja Cat. And 35 will be Todd Hammond with Condoleezza Acres. Bronson Macklinshaw up at the face of the camp now. He nods to go outside with a 22-point cutout. Makes his way around the Circle L first peg. Unfortunately just makes the change over a little quick there and cuts the second peg, but a good run nonetheless. Goes out with a 22-point cutout and 113 aggregate score. Mark Argue on the camp this time aboard Lockie Argue's nomination Nixon. Mark will be our 27th competitor, competing for the $50,000 prize pool. Of course, the winner getting a $20,000 cheque plus prizes and trophies. And we do remind everyone that there will be increased incentives for any open horses that are bought out of the Epic Horse Sale this year. The open age horses bought that are eligible to compete next year in the open Campdraft, there will be increased incentives for those open sale horses. We're out on course now with Mark Argue. Making his way around our Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. And a bit of hard luck there for Mark. He'll go out with his camp score of 23, bringing his aggregate for the weekend up to 113. On the camp now we'll have Campbell Martin aboard Ben Robertson's nomination Roy's Chisholm. 29 will be Bruce McNaughton with Little Acre. 30, Ian Clark and Easy Beat. 31 will be Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe. 32, Al Sullivan and Django. 33, Warwick Lawrence with Jade. 34 will be Bill Carey with Ninja Cat. 35, Todd Hammond and Condoleezza Acres. And 36 will be Tim Clark with Bindi. Out on course now with Campbell Martin. He leaves the camp yard with a score of 23 points. And he covers the Circle L first peg very nicely. Heads back out into the middle of the arena now. And a bit of hard luck there for Campbell. He'll go out with his camp score of 23, which will bring his aggregate total up to 114 points. Walker competitor Bruce McNaughton here with us this time aboard Little Acre. He scored a 91-point run yesterday. And he gets up to the face of the camp now. He's got him sorted. And he takes the Black Baldy steer outside with a 23 cutout. Looking to make his way around our Circle L first peg. Oh, and hard luck there for Bruce. Just coming under the bottom side of the second peg there. But he goes out with a camp score of 23 points, bringing his aggregate up to 114 for the weekend. Corindi competitor with us now will be Ian Clark, competitor number 30, aboard Cahoots Easy Beat. He comes in with a 90-point run from yesterday. We've been so lucky to see some wonderful camp drafting throughout the weekend. And of course, that would not be possible without the good cattle that we've been supplied throughout the weekend by the Kelly Kavanagh Partnership, the Hoy family, John and Maureen Matheson, and of course the Grills family. We thank you very, very much for the kind donation of your cattle to run our events this weekend. And of course to the Menkins family for the cattle that we used in the pre-works this morning. We thank you very much as well. Out on course now with Ian Clark. He goes outside with a score of 20 points for the cutout. And he gets the first peg covered, no worries. But a bit of hard luck coming out of the second one. His camp score of 20 points will bring his aggregate up to 110 for the weekend. Another Walker competitor for us this time will be number 31, Ben McNaughton, aboard Tiptoe. Had a wonderful run yesterday, a 92-point run. And of course the winner of this Grazag Open Camp Draft will be competing for the $20,000 cheque, plus many prizes and trophies, and of course that handcrafted whip, kindly donated by Burton's Saddlery in Armidale. John and Lee Burton, we thank you very much. And we turn our attention outside again now to Walker competitor Ben McNaughton. He goes outside with a 22-point cutout. The crowd's behind him as he makes his way around the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg, and back out into the middle of the arena now. He makes the changeover, comes back around looking for the Grazag gate, and well done. What a beautiful run there by Ben McNaughton and Tiptoe. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You go a long way to see camp drafting of this calibre anywhere, and here it is for you this weekend in Armidale. Brought to you by Ray White and our sponsors. Score comes to hand now for Ben McNaughton. 22 points for cutout, 65 for horsework, 4 for the course, with a score of 91 points, bringing his aggregate up to 183. We're out on course now with Al Sullivan and Django. Following Al, we will require 33, Warwick Lawrence with Jade, 34, Bill Carey with Ninja Cat, 35, Todd Hammond and Condoleezza Akers, 36, Tim Clark with Bindi, 37, Matthew Moffat and Roni's Chick, 38, Troy Palmer with Lorena, 39, Pete Comiskey aboard Sunny, and 40 will be Heath Eslick with Seduction. Al Sullivan goes out with a score of 22 points for cutout, bringing his aggregate up to 113 points for the weekend. Hunter Valley competitor with us this time will be Mr. Warwick Lawrence, who of course needs no introduction, aboard his nomination Jade. They had a 91-point run yesterday, and they step outside with a 23-point cutout. Getting right up beside that black baldy steer as he covers the Circle L first peg and gets back out into the middle of the arena to come around and have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen, really tightening things up as he makes his way around the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg back out into the middle of the arena, and he turns his way around to the Grazag gate straight through. Well done, Warwick. Score here for Warwick Lawrence aboard his nomination Jade will be 23 points for cutout, 65 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 92 points, bringing his aggregate up to 183. Gundawindi competitor with us in the camp now, Bill Carey, aboard his nomination Ninja Cat. Following Bill, we'll have 35 Todd Hammond, 36 Tim Clark, 37 Matthew Moffat, 38 Troy Palmer, 39 Pete Comiskey, and 40 Heath Eslick. And we head out onto the course now with Bill Carey. He leaves the camp yard with a 22-point cutout and makes his way around the Circle L first peg. Looking to cover the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg in the same style. And have a look at that, ladies and gentlemen, up on the shoulder as he bends him back around. Looking for the Grazag gate, and well done. Another full round. Full course there for Bill Carey aboard Ninja Cat. Had a score of 91 points from yesterday. And he comes up with a 22-point cutout today. 65 for horsework, 4 for the course. Gives him a total of 91 points and an aggregate of 182. Todd Hammond in the camp this time aboard his nomination Condoleezza Acres. Had a 90-point run yesterday. And he makes his way up to the front of the camp now and nods for the gate. Heads outside with a 22-point cutout. Gets outside and looks to tighten things up around the Circle L first peg. As he heads back into the centre of the arena now. Cruises on up alongside the Black Angus steer to unfortunately just bring him around the top side of the second peg. So Todd will go out with a score of 22 points for cutout, bringing his aggregate to 112 for the weekend. Tim Clark with us this time, all the way from Barraba. 89-point run yesterday. Tim's aboard his nomination Bindi. We'd also like to thank sponsors Manildra Stock Feeds, Nathan and the team there at 93 Barber Street in Gunnedah. If anyone happens to be passing through Gunnedah, we do encourage you to get over to Manildra Stock Feeds and support those who support us. Out on course now, we're with Tim Clark aboard Bindi. He goes outside with a 21-point cutout. And unfortunately, that'll be it for Tim. He goes out with an aggregate score of 110. The camp now will have competitor 37 Matthew Moffat aboard Roney's Chick. 38 will be Troy Palmer and Lorena. 39 Pete Comiskey with Sunny. 40 Heath Eslick and Seduction. 41 will be Hugh Miles with Wishes. 42 will be Tanika Fute with Spark. 43 Bruce McNaughton and Cuban Cigars. 44 Andrew Turvey with Ruby. And 45 will be our final competitor here this afternoon, Greg Henry aboard Soda. Another big thank you to Paul Long and his team at Lambton, Kelly's Finance at Lambton, one of our very generous sponsors this weekend. For anyone who may be looking for finance or advice, make sure you get in contact with Paul and his team. We're up at the face of the camp now with competitor number 37, Matthew Moffat. He heads outside with a 23-point cutout. Makes his way around the Circle L first peg. He leaves nothing in the tank as he goes to bend that steer around the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. And how's this for hard riding? Pushes him back out into the middle. Makes the changeover. Brings him back around, just unfortunately around the other side of the Grazag gate there. But we'll still have a score for Matthew aboard Roney's Chick to add to his 89-point run yesterday. Ian Watson and his team at WLW Accountants, who have offices in Armidale, Tamworth and Burleigh Heads, are rural accountants and specialist advisors in the primary production and business taxation areas. They can assist you with farm budgeting, farm succession, estate planning, farm business and strategic planning as well. Score there for our last competitor. Number 37, Matthew Moffat, was 23 points for cutout, 58 for horsework, 3 for the course, gives him a total of 84 points and an aggregate of 173. In the camp now we have cooler competitor Mr. Troy Palmer aboard Lorena. He comes into the camp with a score of 90 from yesterday. Following Troy, we'll be looking for competitor 39, Pete Comiskey. Aboard the Coombs nomination, Sunny. Troy calls for the gate now and heads out onto the course with a 22-point cutout. Gets right up on the shoulder here. Really looking to tighten things up as he comes around the Circle L first peg. Another cracker of a peg around the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. Makes his way back out into the centre of the arena now. He's going to turn that steer around and bring him back through the Grazag gate. Put your hands together for Mr. Troy Palmer aboard his nomination Lorena. Score there for competitor 38, Troy Palmer, aboard his nomination Lorena, was 22 points for cutout, 66 for horsework, 4 for the course, gives him a total of 92 points and an aggregate score of 182. Pete Comiskey in the camp with us now, all the way down from Nebo. The horse he rides here is Sunny. The combination scored a 90-point run yesterday. And he's made his selection now. The Black Baldy steer. Very hard luck there for Pete Comiskey. He'll go out with a no score. The camp is clear. We'll have competitor number 40, Heath Eslick, aboard his nomination Seduction. 41 will be Hugh Miles with Wishes. 42 will be Tanika Fute with Spark. 43, Bruce McNaughton aboard Cuban Cigars. 44, Andrew Turvey with Ruby. And 45, our final competitor, will be Greg Henry aboard his nomination Soda. Heath Eslick making his selection now and taking Seduction up to the front of the camp. Gets down and goes to work with the Black Baldy steer, who unfortunately just has a trick or two in him. They head outside now. Alex Pope, if you're on the ground, if you're available, we've had a request that you make your way down to the Ray White tent in front of the announcer's box to make the presentation on behalf of Verback. Alex and Matt Faulkner, of course, have very kindly donated trophy rugs for this, the Grazag Open Campdraft. They've also donated drench for the cattle that've been donated for the drafts and pre-works, as well as horse drenches and some other small items that we've been able to give out as prizes over the weekend. So we thank them very much for partnering with Grazag, Jason and Kelly Litchfield and the team. As we mentioned before, across 3 locations, they are your trusted grazing and agricultural company. Located here in Armidale, Guyra and Glen Innes. Their 3 stores stock and will supply all your needs, including rural merchandise, fertiliser, pasture seed, animal health products, nutrition supplements, fencing supplies, steel yard supplies, agricultural chemicals, along with a drive-through service. They also offer specialist agronomy advice. That is our major sponsor of the Open Campdraft, Jason and Kelly Litchfield and their team at Grazag. And we're out on course now with Heath Eslick. Goes out with a camp score of 16 points and makes his way around the Circle L first peg. But unfortunately just comes around the bottom side of our second. So he'll go out with an aggregate score of 106 points. Some other sponsors for the weekend have been Beck and her team at Horseland in Armidale. They've donated the saddle pads and rugs over the weekend, along with Durox donating $500 gift voucher, and Norco Armidale for their gift vouchers as well. We've had Riverina Stock Feeds. They've donated a pallet of Ultimate Mix. So to those people, we thank you very much for your support. That was competitor 41, Hugh Miles aboard Wishes. He goes out with a camp score of 22 points only to bring his aggregate to 113 points. It's great to have so many of our people from the Ray White Network here with us this weekend, travelling from near and far. We've got people from the local branches as well as people from our corporate office. We thank them very, very much for donating their time this weekend to come and help out the Armidale and Kempsey team in the running of the Ray White Epic Horse Sale and Campdraft. We've had a wonderful couple of days camp drafting, and no doubt we'll have a great day tomorrow at the sale. Everyone bearing in mind that that incentive for the Epic Camp Draft will be increased next year, as well as the incentive for any open horses that are bought out of the sale tomorrow and go in the Open Camp Draft next year. We're out on course now with competitor number 42, Tanika Fute aboard Spark. She goes outside with a 22-point cutout from the camp yard, makes her way around the Circle L first peg. Unfortunately, that's as far as we'll go. It'll bring Tanika's aggregate score to 111 points. Third last competitor here this afternoon is Bruce McNaughton, the Walker competitor aboard his nomination, Cuban Cigars. The combination scored a 90-point run yesterday. Here we are, competitor number 43, Bruce McNaughton and Cuban Cigars. Takes the black steer up to the face of the camp and calls for the gate. Bit of fancy footwork there to get him sorted as they head out. Head outside with a camp score of 22 points and make their way around the top side of the Circle L first peg. So unfortunately, Bruce will go out with a score of 22 points only, bringing his aggregate to 112 for the weekend. Second last competitor will be Andrew Turvey in the camp now, aboard Banjo Turvey's nomination Ruby. The combination scored a 90-point run yesterday. He wastes no time getting right up to the face of the camp now. Really putting the pressure on and showing everyone how it's done. He steps outside with a 23-point cutout. He covers the Circle L first peg and moves back out into the centre of the arena. Makes the change over to just come around the bottom side of the Maloney Livestock Transport second peg. So unfortunately, Andrew will go out with a score of 23 points, and that'll leave him with an aggregate of 113 points for Andrew Turvey and Ruby. Our final competitor here now, ladies and gentlemen, is competitor number 45, Greg Henry, with his nomination soda. The Ebor competitor scored a 91-point run yesterday, and he will be our final competitor here this afternoon in our Grazag Open Campdraft. Once again, we'd like to thank major sponsors Grazag, along with those who have co-sponsored, Alex Pope and her team at Verback, and of course Burton Saddlery in Armidale, who have kindly donated the handcrafted whip to the winner. We're outside now with final competitor Greg Henry aboard Soda. He goes outside with a 22-point cutout and makes his way now around the Circle L first peg. Looking to make that changeover, but unfortunately not today. And his score of 22 points will bring him an aggregate total of 113. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it won't be too long. We'll just compile our scores and then we'll get underway with our presentations. So for any of those that want to kill some time, make your way over there to the bar. We've got Trent Nielsen and the team from St Kilda Hotel at Armidale over there manning the bar for us. And of course, if anyone's a bit hungry, we've got our several food vans around there. Ed's Tucker Box doing a great job, along with Smoking Steakhouse and Chris at Bean Travellin' for anyone who may be looking for a coffee. Won't be too long at all, and we'll be back with you for the presentations of the Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Epic Incentive Camp Draft, as well as the presentation for our Grazag Open Camp Draft. That's it for now, but stand by for some winners and place getters and a presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just getting organised for our presentations here this afternoon. However, if the following people could be aboard their horses and get ready for the presentation, it'd be greatly appreciated. So for the Epic Incentive Final, first place going to Alan Sinclair with Sterling. Second place will require Ken McCarthy with JR Hat Creek Call Girl. Third place will be Denny Farley with Gales Misty. And equal fourth and fifth will be Dean Clark and Robert Perkins with Watches Pearl and Hot Cash. The cutout, highest scoring cutout for our Epic Incentive Final will be Mitchell Hoy with Smart Times. So if those people could please be ready to enter the arena shortly when you're called. We'll also require the following people to come in for the presentations of our Grazag Epic Open Campdraft. These will be the first round place getters. We'll require you to come out and get your ribbons and prize money. They will be as follows. First was Andrew Turvey with Request. An equal second was Pete Comiskey with Archdale Convoy, Paul Kelly on Nebo, Bruce McNaughton with Tallahassee Paris, Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe, and Troy Palmer on Sniper. They were our first round place getters. And last but not least, these are the people we will require for the Epic Open Final. In first place, we had Andrew Turvey with Request. Equal second and third, Warwick Lawrence on Jade and Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe. Equal fourth and fifth was Bill Carey with his nomination, Ninja Cat, along with Troy Palmer and Lorena. Sixth place goes to Ben Maidham with Terry Wickham's nomination, Bonfire Jovi. Seventh place was Ben McNaughton on Horizon. And equal eighth went to Mark Argue with Sunita, Andrew Burns and Costa, Ben Newbury with Escort, Troy Palmer with Whitney, and Jesse Rowan and many more. So they are the people we do ask to stand by for our presentations. You'll be called forward shortly. All right, well, thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. We will now get underway with the presentation of our 2021 Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Incentive Camp Draft. So we'll ask the following competitors if you could please make your way through the camp when called. In first place, we have Mr. Alan Sinclair aboard his nomination Sterling. Second place, Ken McCarthy with JR Hat Creek Call Girl. Third place will be Danny Farley aboard Gales Misty. Equal fourth and fifth will be Dean Clark with Watcher's Pearl and Robert Perkins with Hot Cash. And the highest cutout score was Mitchell Hoy aboard Smart Times. So if we ask those people to please come out and line up out the front of the Circle L Trophy Saddle. Alan Sinclair, the winner of the Maloney Livestock Transport and Circle L Incentive Camp Draft. He will be awarded the $9,000 cheque as well as a buckle and the trophy saddle kindly donated by Circle L. So could we please ask Mick and Carolyn Maloney, if they're on the ground, to please come forward and present the ribbons. Mick and Carolyn have been working tirelessly all weekend, carting cattle and organising cattle as well as having a run themselves. So we'll just get the ribbons to Mick and Carolyn. So there's no first ribbon. So the ribbons will go to second and third, and of course first he gets all his awards and prizes here. We would also like to ask the following people. Rebecca Cameron, if you're on the ground, could you please make your way forward for the photo? Rebecca and her team at Horseworld have provided the saddle pads, so we thank them very much. And we also ask Alex Pope from Verback to please come forward and present the trophy rug. Who else do you want in for the photos? Blake, would you like to come forward for the photos? Bruce Birch, you've been requested also. We'll get a photo with our winners and place getters and sponsors. And if Mick and Carolyn, if you could just grab the cheque here, and we'll get a photo of you guys presenting that to Alan. The cheque for $9,000. And if we could also ask Mrs. Gloria McCormack to come out the front for the photos. Tell you what, Sterling wasn't real sure about the 9,000, but Alan wasn't letting go. All right, so we've got our judge with us, Mrs. Gloria McCormack. We'll get those people in there for a photo. Our photographers here for this weekend, Emma Pendergast and Logan Berkeley. We thank them very much. Just a couple more photos and then we'll be moving on to the presentation of our Grazag Open Camp Draft. Okay, we'll just ask all those place getters if they'd like to make their way out of the arena. We'll give them a clap as they leave the arena. And we'll just get a photo of Alan here with the trophy, saddle and buckle. We might just put the check back down in front of the saddle. Blake, just put the check there in front of the saddle. Just, yeah, we'll sit the saddle down. That's good. There you go. Well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the winner of our Epic Incentive Camp Draft, Mr. Alan Sinclair. And of course, a big round of applause to our wonderful sponsors, Mick and Carolyn Maloney from Maloney Livestock Transport, as well as Circle L, who have donated the trophy saddle. So we'd also like to thank our other sponsors making their way out here now. Representing Namoy River Transport, we have John and George Matheson. John and Unica Matheson and family, of course, great sponsors of the weekend. Namoy River Transport, along with Maloney Livestock Transport, getting the cattle to and from safely. So we thank them very much. If we could please have the winner and place getters of both the open cutout and the open final to please be marshalling in the camp yard. So while we get these final photos, we will require the following people: Andrew Turvey with Request, Warwick Lawrence and Jade, Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe, Bill Carey and Ninja Cat, Troy Palmer with Lorena, Ben Maidham and Bonfire Jovi, Ben McNaughton with Horizon, Mark Argue and Sanita, Andrew Burns with Costa, Ben Newbury with Escort, Troy Palmer with Whitney, and Jesse Rowan with many more. We will also require Mr. Ian Clark. If all of those people could please be marshalling in the camp yard. As soon as we get these photos done, we will be calling you in for the presentation of the Grazag Open Camp Draft. Thanks very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our sponsors, the Maloney family and the Matheson family, as they leave the arena with the winner of our 2021 Epic Incentive Camp Draft, Mr. Alan Sinclair and Sterling. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we'll now invite our finalists of the Epic Open Final. In first place, would you please welcome Mr. Andrew Turvey, a board request. Andrew, if you could just make your way out through the camp yard. He's coming here now, I can see. Also, John and Lee Burton, if you're on the grounds, we'll have you stand by for the presentation as well. And here he is, Mr. Andrew Turvey, the winner of our Grazag Open Camp Draft. In equal second and third place, we ask Warwick Lawrence with Jade and Ben McNaughton to come forward with Tiptoe. In equal fourth and fifth, we'll have Bill Carey with Ninja Cat and Troy Palmer on Lorena. In sixth place, we'll have Ben Maidham with Bonfire Jovi. Seventh place will be Ben McNaughton, who's already in the lineup. And in equal eighth position, we'll have Mark Argue with Sunita, Andrew Burns and Costa, Ben Newbury with Escort, Troy Palmer and Whitney, and Jesse Rowan, and many more. We'll also ask the winner of the cutout, Mr. Ian Clark, and Charlie Rowan to make his way out as well for this presentation of the Grazag Open Camp Draft. Grazag, wonderful sponsors here this weekend, and we will be presenting a cheque for $20,000 in prize money, along with the buckle and the rug kindly donated by Verback and Horseland. That will be going to the winner. The second place getter will be getting $8,000. Third place will receive $5,000. And the minor place getters will be divided up accordingly. We've also got ribbons here for first, second and third, so I'll ask the Grazag team if they'd like to come forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we now ask Mr. Jason Litchfield from Grazag, our major sponsor here this weekend of the Open Campdraft, to present our first place getter, Mr. Andrew Turvey, with his cheque for $20,000, along with the ribbon and trophy buckle. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for the winner, Mr. Andrew Turvey, in request. We'll just get Jason to put the ribbons on the second and third place getter before we get a photo. So in equal second and third, we have Warwick Lawrence with Jade and Ben McNaughton with Tiptoe. So as we said before, we welcome and thank Jason and Kelly Litchfield, along with Matt Foster from Grazag, for their sponsorship of the Open Campdraft. Total prize pool throughout the weekend, $50,000, one of the highest paying Open Campdrafts in the country at the moment. We'd also like to thank John and Lee Burton for their kind donation of the handcrafted whip. Alex Pope from Verback, and Matt Faulkner and the team for donating the trophy rug, along with many other prizes throughout the weekend. We'll just ask our judge, Mr. Nigel Rippon, if he'd please come forward for a photo with the winners, place getters and sponsors. We thank Nigel very much for presiding over our Open Campdraft. There were some wonderful runs and they were rewarded with some big scores. Just don't go away there, competitors. All good, right? We just need the winner. David and Penny Grills and Brenton and Jessica Allport, if you happen to be on the ground, we'd like you out here for the presentation. And Steph, if you happen to be around as well. We need the whole team from the Grills family. If you could make your way out here, they have been tremendous sponsors, donors of cattle throughout the weekend. I'm sure all the competitors would agree that the calibre of cattle we had here this weekend was just wonderful. Not an easy thing to give your cattle at the moment when they're worth so much money. But these people did it without hesitation. And here we are, we have the Grills family out on course with us now. Let's get a couple of last photos here. And everyone can make their way over to see Trent and the team from St Kilda Hotel. They're over there manning our bar this evening. Looks like a lot of people have found their way over there already, which is very good to see. Okay, well, thank you very much. That will conclude our presentation here this afternoon. Once again, we'd like to thank our many sponsors this weekend. We hope you've enjoyed yourself as much as we have the last couple of days with all the Campdraft action. We'll be back in the morning with the horse sale. Of course, that's an event not to be missed. It is live streamed through Stock Live. For any of you people who have been watching on this afternoon and may wish to bid online tomorrow, we do ask that you don't hesitate. You get in and register early with Stock Live. Ali and Libby and the team there are only too happy to help if you happen to have troubles. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough for us here this afternoon. We'll see you all bright and early tomorrow for our 2021 Ray White Epic Horse Sale.